like Backfire is one of the ones that's more like it's one of the big ones that done. It's more of like a tabletop game. Where you're like firing a ball back and forth at each other. That was one that I had as a kid. A lot of games, really thinking about it, are ones that I liked them. I played the games, but I probably didn't play them the way that you are supposed to play them, or rather you kind of use the game and play around it rather than actually following the rules and playing the game itself. So likes of one of the ones from I remember from when I was a kid I used to really like was a game called it's a pirate one, Black Cannon. One of the ones that Black Cannon, yeah, it's one of the ones that I've still got to try and get a copy of. Yeah, I don't have one, but basically it's you had little like cardboard pirate ships and schooners and things, and you had little vac formed plastic mountains and hills on islands around the board, and you had little cannons that you could pull back on springs and let go of and actually fire cannonballs at the other ships. So, you know, slightly kind of crossbows and catapults like. So that was one. I can't even remember what the actual rules of the game were, what you were actually supposed to do with it. But that was one that I used to really enjoy playing with a lot. Just firing the cannon at pirate ships and destroying them, knocking them over, that kind of thing. So a lot of it was like using games, but kind of like playing with them as toys rather than following the rules and the instructions as an actual game.
Yeah.
Other ones, likes of what's it called? Shrieks and Creaks. Don't know if you know that one.
I'm writing it down, but feel free to tell us about it.
Shrieks and Creaks. So basically, it was one of these ones that had audio cassettes. So it was. It had like one audio cassette, I think, that went in, and it had this kind of unit that you had little plastic kind of gravestones that you would slot into it, and depending on what one you'd slotted into it, it would play a different sound, or it'd do some kind of other instruction. It was one of these kind of like creepy, spooky horror type ones where like the box has got this big kind of vampire guy welcoming you into the mansion. I mean, that kind of thing. As a kid, I always really liked monsters and creatures and all that kind of thing. I was big into that. So still now with the board games and everything, those are the kind of games that I really like. I really like all the kind of monster games and like ones that have kind of like a Frankenstein theme or a Dracula theme or that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, I was looking up like some monster games, and a lot of these monster games nowadays are going for a lot of money, or especially if they have a mansion involved, apparently. Guys, this is Mark from Addict Raider Retro Reviews. I had started the broadcast a little late. I apologize about this, but he this is his YouTube channel which is the name over there, and he is from Scotland, and we're just talking board games, and he's eventually going to show us some of his collection. We're just getting to know him, and Mark, thank you again for being on here. So let me ask you this. Do you remember how the process of the actual collecting of board games began? I know you had said you started to collect toys. When did board games start to come into the picture?
I think for me, as I said, ever since I was a kid, I collected toys. So really, it started off with the original Star Wars figures that my mum brought me back. Like, I think it was a Gamorrean Guard or Bib Fortuna, one of those two, when I was ill one day, and she brought that back, and I got into collecting toys. And that kind of stayed with me throughout all my life. And then as I got more toys and wanted to be able to like fund that, I started getting into buying and selling. So I started like going around. One of the things that I really love doing, one of my favorite things, is going around charity shops and car boot sales. So basically like thrifting. I don't think you guys have got car boot sales over there, do you?
I don't recall seeing any over where I'm at. There may be some where others in the States somewhere, but I'm not familiar with it personally.
So likes of I go around the car boot sales and the charity shops, like the thrift shops, and try to hunt down toys and things, and then anything that I'd get doubles of or I'd know were really collectible, I'd sell them on. And through doing that, I then started like finding or getting board games, and I discovered, some of the board games are really worth quite a lot of money, some of them. I kind of got in kind of that way. It's always something that I'd had, one or two board games, but trying to then, got to the point where I kind of expanded past toys and things, and then started getting into board games that way, buying them and selling them on. And then, I kind of just got into really enjoying that and liking having the board games and collecting the board games and playing them. So that's kind of how I got into it that way. Again, kind of horror themed things or adventure themed ones, kind of your Indiana Jones type thing.
Yeah, we have a lot of thrift stores over here, and that's kind of how I got started too. Is my wife and I played games on our first date, and then little by little we got more, and then we went to thrift stores and discovered that they had more. And this has probably been an experience you've had is finding a game that's like worth a lot of money, like maybe for a couple of dollars. And it's kind of funny because the people who bought the game there didn't know. But I guess that's why a lot of people go thrifting. Do you have any particular finds when you went in there, you were like, oh my gosh?
Well, there's two. One which is a big regret of mine, and one which is a success story. So the regret of mine is that I was at a car boot sale once. This was about 2-3 years ago. This was before I was particularly into board games. And I was at the car boot sale, and they had like this massive cardboard tray, really, of like bits and pieces and things. And I bought it. It was like something like £5 for the entire tray. And in that, they had lots and lots of pieces of like railway station parts for miniature railway. And I sold those off. And as I sorted through it, there was basically pretty much the entire set of crossbows and catapults. So it was like the entire game, but the box was missing. But I think it was missing like literally like 2 figures and like 1 or 2 of the little kind of things that you fire at each other. But the game was pretty much there. And by that point, I'd kind of like sold off the railway stuff and made a profit on that, and then had this stuff for free.
Wow.
I was into selling stuff at that, buying and selling. So I sold it, on eBay. I made a really good profit on it, but that's one of the things that I really, really wish now that I had kept, because looking at the prices on crossbows and catapults, it's one of the ones I really want for my collection now. And there's no way I'm paying those prices.
No, I kind of got lucky with that one. I actually used to have that game as a kid, like back in the early '80s. And when I came across it again, I was like, oh yeah, I was shocked at how much it was going for. But I think the reason why my copy sold, I think I got it for $100, was because the stickers were on the wrong caroms. So we were able to peel those off and put them and switch them out. But eBay's weird. Sometimes you'll find somebody that'll just be trying to sell it, and you get a great deal on it. But then other people, they want $1,000 for it. I ain't paying no $1,000.
It's definitely one that's on my watch list. I'm trying to get it for a reasonable price. Even it's one of those games. Even if you have to build up the pieces and build it piecemeal to get the whole game, I think on one of your videos. I think you did that with like Fireball Island, piecing it together, maybe.
Yeah, I think I did. I think I got the new Curse of Volcar game, which actually someone has a question for you on that. And I got like one of those, I guess, tackle box type things, and I was able to store all the pieces separately. But here's a question for you. What are your thoughts on the original Fireball Island and the new one? And then I got a couple of questions about Ice Cube, It from the Pit, and Dr. Fear's Mad Lab. So have you ever played the original Fireball?
I have not. I've got this one here, though. I've got the new remake of Fireball Island. I got that one. I literally got that and a couple of expansions just for Christmas, just on there. So I actually haven't had a chance to play it yet, but the original Fireball Island is one of my ones that I really, really want. But unfortunately, so many of the games that I really want are ones which did not come out here in Britain. So like Fireball Island, It from the Pit, really want It from the Pit, Fireball Island, Tornado Rex. Some of those games, they are ones that I really, they're top of the hit list of ones to try and get. But the shipping on those from the US is absolutely killer.
Yeah.
Especially with us, not so much America, but now that we've got Brexit and we've just left the EU, even getting things from France and stuff, we're getting hit with big import taxes and stuff now on those. But no, Fireball Island, definitely one that I do want. The remake, I have not had a chance of playing it yet. As I say, I got it for Christmas. I've got a couple of the expansions as well.
Glad you got those.
But as I said, saying to you earlier, COVID hitting, it's just absolutely killed it. Here in Scotland, in Britain, we are not allowed to go, round anybody else's houses at all. We're not allowed to have anybody over.
Wow.
So that's it. It's me and my wife playing 2-player games. Anything more than that, forget it. Got to wait until all the lockdowns lifted.
Yeah, hopefully that'll happen soon, man.
So
I'm sorry about that. Gosh. Let's see here what we got. Have you got Dr. Fear's Mad Lab? That's a monster game.
I do. That was Dr. Fear's Mad Lab. That was one of the first. Couple of reviews that I did. I think when I put it up, there weren't any reviews on that on YouTube, but that was one of the ones that was a really, really lucky find. I actually got that one in a charity shop for £4. So that was, I'd never ever heard of it at all before. And this particular charity shop is well known for having ridiculously high prices. And the manager in this particular one, she selects anything that is vintage and they sell it off as at auction separately. But she missed this one. It was on the shelf and I'd never heard of it before. I got it, absolutely love the look of it. And I got that one. So yeah, great. It's 3D. I know you've done a whole load of 3D browsing videos recently.
Yeah.
That for me, monsters, definitely. Indiana Jones and adventure type things, yes. And 3D games, absolutely love the 3D games. The other one, I said that there was 2 really good finds. The other good find, let me see if I can get it here, because I've got a couple of games here, but I can't get at all of them. This is the other one, which is an absolute steal. This one, Treasure of the Pharaohs. Have you seen how much this goes for these days?
How much is that one going for? It looks beautiful.
I have seen this go on eBay for £140.
Oh my gosh.
That is ridiculous. Normally it goes for about 80, but it can go, 80 up to 140. I got this one. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, that one's a vintage one. We're going to have to charge you £4 for that."
Yeah, that's about $200 US for that. And somebody was saying, let me see where it was. Here it is. We can sympathize. Some of us in America face steep shipping charges when trying to get Britain games. That's definitely true. Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs is a game I would like to get, but the shipping is just insane. So it's just going to have to be one of those deals. Maybe someone here will have it. I don't know.
Waddingtons. That's the one saving grace we have here in Britain. Is there you go, Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs. That is one of my favorite ones. I really do like that. And if you notice this guy here, I can't even point at it.
I see
this guy here on the front cover. No, that really is the inspiration for the whole costume get-up on the channel,
Yeah, I remember when I saw one of your reviews on the Creepy Cauldron game, you had that hat on. I thought that was pretty cool.
Just
nice
channel, be a bit of a gimmick, just to be a bit different from everybody else. And my channel, Attic Raiders, I really wanted it to be kind of like along the theme of Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Tomb Raider, that kind of thing. I thought it was maybe a bit too trite, a bit too obvious to have like the Indiana Jones fedora and get up like that. So I went more with the Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs pith helmet and that kind of.
I like the look. I think it's great. Attic Raiders. That's a great name too. Let me ask you this, and you probably may have answered this already. What do you like about the vintage games, or what do you see in them today that you don't necessarily see in games that are made today? Like 3D board is an example. Have you noticed anything between the older games and the newer ones that you really like?
This was something that I know you've asked a couple of people this on different interviews. So I was really, really thinking hard about it, because the obvious thing to say is that, the older games were better. Nostalgia, the vintage games. I think it really does just come down to the nostalgia value of having had it as a kid. I think as far as games go that are produced, I would say adult board games today are the best that they have ever been. Ones particularly, especially through Kickstarters and that kind of thing. Board games particularly aimed at adults are amazing today. I don't think they've ever been that good. Kids board games, though, as far as I can see, they are very similar. If you take off the rose-tinted glasses, I think they are very similar to the way that they've been produced in the past. I think particularly for the dexterity type games, so ones where you're balancing things, or you have to take things off of things or put things onto things without setting off some kind of mechanism. There are some fantastic, vintage games that do that, and I really do love them. But at the same time, I think there's also some really, really good modern day kids ones that do that as well, that I'm just not really interested in because they're not old.
Yeah.
So like one that I've seen in the shops is a game by, who did it? Drummond Games, I think, Drummond Park. They've done a game called Snapdragon. I don't know if you've seen this, but it's like this purple dragon. This is a modern one, but it's like a purple dragon that's mouth opens up, and I think you've got to take things out or pull something, and it'll snap shut if you do it wrong. And it looks great. It looks absolutely fantastic. And if it was a vintage game, if it just had that 90s or 80s era tag on it, I would be buying it in an instant. But because it's new and it's still available in the shops, I don't have that interest.
Yeah, I understand. Here's a question for you. This is from my friend Babs. Is it easy for you to understand these new adult games with the 30-page instruction manuals?
No,
for me,
I mean, no. I mean, this is one of, I think, one of the main things with vintage games, particularly one of the reasons for liking kids games, is that the instructions are simple. They made these games simple. They made them easy to understand. I have a real difficulty if I have a game where I have to have like 10 different things in mind of, oh, I've got this card that does this thing, but I've also got this little token that lets me do this thing, and I've got to keep them in mind while I'm doing this. No, I just can't concentrate on all of that, and that completely puts me off. To be honest, let's say I've come from collecting vintage toys and that, so I really don't own many board games which are modern ones at all. I literally own 3 modern board games.
3.
That's it. I've got Fireball Island and the expansions. What was the other ones? Gosh, I did have this in mind. Fireball Island. The other one, Temple Run, based on the app, which is one of the ones that I think Matt Wilkinson had on his channel. Really good game, like that a lot. And the Jaws board game that came out recently, which again was, I think, last year, a Christmas present I got last year. Not had a chance to play it yet, but I'm a big Jaws fan.
Yeah, they actually had a Jaws game made in the 70s. I think I don't remember much about it. It just had a big mechanical shark or something like that, I remember.
So it was one of these ones, I think, kind of like Buckaroo or Rattle Me Bones, that kind of thing, where it had its mouth open and you have to extract like pieces of junk from its mouth, I think, without it snapping shut. Again, that's one that's still around, basically. I think Chad Valley here, Chad Valley, they basically have the exact same thing. It might even be a different color plastic. Definitely has different stickers on the eyes, I think. But it's basically the exact same game, but without the Jaws like licensing and artwork and stuff on it. And again, because it doesn't have that Jaws licensing and stuff on it, not interested at all. You know, that's what it's all about.
Well, here's a good question for you. Who do you? I haven't really ever asked anybody this on this, but I'll ask you. Are there any gaming channels that you really like to watch that you get a lot of information from?
Yeah, definitely. Watch some of your channel, Matt Wilkins' channel. Main ones for me, production values, lot of really good content, lot of good games, a lot of silliness as well, as Bernardo, at Tabletop Island, and look at Down from the Attic. They both have really good channels with really good, really good reviews on there as well.
I remember when I had first started the channel myself, and this has probably been your experiences. A lot of it came because I was trying to find information on games and I couldn't find any.
Yeah, totally.
Some games that I just really, really liked, and that's kind of how it started with me. That's probably been your experience too. I mean, a lot of people that I've talked to, who started their channels, just had these wonderful games that nobody had ever heard of, and there was no information on. So I'm glad that you've got a channel where you're sharing videos about these wonderful games to share with the public and give them knowledge about it. So I think that's very cool that you're doing that too. Here's a question. Are there any older games you'd like to see reprinted that come to mind? It could be a monster game.
I don't know. I suppose likes of Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs would be a good one to get updated with like new sculpts on the dinosaurs, because it's great, and as a vintage game it's really nice, but as far as sculpt goes, on the miniatures, on the T-Rexes. They're really, really goofy looking, those things. And the little kind of swamp monster that you move around as well. It's not scary in the slightest. So that would be a really good. And again, it's got plastic mountain and things, but like the temple where you collect coins from and things, the temple's made of cardboard. And if there's one thing with board games that really does my head in, it is cardboard components. I hate it when board games have cardboard components. Please, give me plastic. You know, they just crush, they bend, and if they make it from thick cardboard, which is really good, when they make it from the thick cardboard, it's lots of layers of cardboard that's been squashed together, and invariably it's ones where you have to kind of like form them together. They've got to slot together, and when you slot them together, some of the layers like crush and they all just go horrible. And those are the ones you're always having to like try to repair, like Ghost Castle, that kind of thing, where it's part of the wall is ripped or it's been bent back and forth and you can't really do anything with. There's so many cardboard games that I've got, and I've had to be sitting there with the, you know, your Pritt stick, glue stick, gluing individual layers of cardboard and then squeezing them together really tight to like try and repair it and put it back. But yeah, cardboard games, don't like that. As you say, 3D games, definitely. That's what it's all about for me. I absolutely love 3D games. Ones with, you know, mechanisms, innovative mechanisms. That's love that. Moving parts, definitely. One of the things not so keen on though is motorized games. I don't know how many motorized games I've got through that just don't work.
Yeah.
And invariably there'll be like a little nylon cog which is split through age, and if that's done, then it can be very hard to actually replace those cogs, because that nylon, it does not glue back together at all. But unless you can find a cog the same size, but invariably the motor shaft has like a little piece of metal on top of it where the cog goes on to stop the cog coming off. So you can't get a new cog on there. And there's been quite a few motorized games that I've got where it just hasn't worked. But, you know, if you take it apart, unscrew it, and if you actually turn it by hand, some of those cogs a number of times, you can get them to work again, and the motor does come back into life. I was doing that just recently with a game, actually.
Yeah, I know there's a guy on eBay that fixes like the Dark Tower towers, and he does a really good job with them. But I guess one of the issues I've had is sometimes I forget to take the batteries out, and if the game's been sitting a long time, it starts to get corroded and things like that. So so I love motorized games. Like if they're good, like It from the Pit's one of my favorites. But yeah, if they break, it can be a pain to try to find someone to fix them because they're so old. Let's see.
Like the noise on them.
What's that? Yeah, it has that noise. But
like it from the Pit. Yeah, I would love It from the Pit. But some of the other ones that have the motor going constantly, they just drive you nuts. Some of those things, they just are so loud. And I literally just this weekend, I've just been repairing another game that I got through, which had exactly that battery corrosion on the terminals. So sitting there with the with my vinegar and my toothbrush, scrubbing those terminals in order to get it back to life again, and hand turning the motor, and it works again. So that one will be coming up, being reviewed shortly.
Good. So what's the loudest game you've ever owned, since we're talking motorized? I think the one I have is Donut Disaster. That game is just, we can't play it if our son is asleep because it's so loud. What about you? Can you think of anything?
One that I reviewed quite recently, it's called Octobuzzy. So it's you've got to like take things out of treasure chests and things that the octopus is guarding, and if you you're too slow, it kind of, a bit like Operation, it will set off a buzzer and the octopus's eyes will start glowing. But that thing is, it's constantly going. The motor is constantly going, and it's really, really loud.
That's funny. Well, let me ask, will you be able to show us some of your collection?
I can show you some games, but I think it's going to be more of me kind of picking up games and showing them to you for the camera, because as you can see here, space is a bit of a premium. So I don't know how you are with storing your games, but for me, that is the number one issue with collecting board games, is where you actually store them. Now, I've got some in an attic space. So we've got, thankfully, it's not an attic that you have to go up into, but we've got like an attic crawl space. That place is absolutely freezing and quite dark. So I'm not going in there just now. So half of them are in there, and the other half are at the back of my wardrobe. So thankfully, we've got this big walk-in wardrobe, and just the shape of the thing. So I've got all my clothes are hanging up in this wardrobe, but because the wall kind of goes back and slopes down, so there's a really, really deep recess behind where my clothes hang up. So all the rest of the games are in there, but it's not easy to get to them, unfortunately.
No, I understand. Well, feel free to show us any ones that So
I have a couple to show you. Fireball Island, we talked about that one. Let me see. Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs, again, Waddington's classic. Love that one. Another one here, another Waddington's one. Treasures and Trapdoors. This was one that I had as a kid. Absolutely loved this game as a kid.
Wow.
Again, because you can turn the dial on it, and as you turn the dial, it opens up trapdoors and things. And I think that is a kind of game that I think is really, really missing at the moment. Let me see. I don't think. Oh no, I did. Hang on. The closest we've got. I think the closest we've got to a really good kind of, adventure type game with mechanisms and things is this one. Indiana Jones Akator Temple race game. Quite a modern one, 2008, I think, if I'm remembering right, but it's definitely 2000s. Quite a modern one. This game, I don't know if you've seen this one, Norm.
I haven't. That looks cool.
Actually, I think you were maybe looking at this on your channel recently.
Yeah, I browsed through it. Yeah, I found that one as a 3D game. Yeah. Do you like it?
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Do you like the game?
This one is great. I mean, I'm with you. I'm pretty sure you said that you do not like Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. I'm with you.
The movie. I love the series. The movie itself wasn't really my type.
Yeah. I'm a big Indiana Jones fan, but the last one, this one, really not good. I'm not a fan of this one. Yeah, but as a game, this is great fun. I really love the mechanism on this. It's a really nice big 3D game. You've got different traps which set off and things, and this one I really do like. And I think like Treasures and Trapdoors, I think that's one of the things that we're really kind of missing at the moment. I think I can't think of really any. A really nice game. If I could design my own game and have it made, this is what it would be. Would be some kind of Indiana Jones type theme. So an adventurer going into a temple, and as you on the board game, as you go around the temple, there's lots of traps, lots of different mechanisms. A bit like, so you kind of like 13 Dead 13 Dead End Drive, that kind of thing. So you've got lots of traps, lots of things that you could set off, but lots of that would be great. That kind of theme with like desiccated mummies and corpses and stuff, and like spikes that come out of the walls, those kind of mechanisms, like spring load things. That would be great. I would absolutely love that. That would be ideal.
Luke just said this. He says they're actually thinking about making an Indy 5. I don't know. I don't know what they could do with it. I mean, Harrison Ford's in his 70s now, so I'd be kind of curious what they could do with it. But I'd be interested to see what they could do with an Indiana Jones game. I mean, they redid Jaws, successfully, from what I understand, in a lot of these older movies. That would be a good one to see. I'd love to see it if it was 3D, though. If they could make a big 3D.
Yeah, definitely. That would be fantastic. And I know that the retro board games seem to be really big at the moment. Like certainly here in Britain, in our supermarkets, it's the first time I've ever seen it in the supermarkets. But at Christmas time here, we had quite a lot of retro board games, which we've never. The supermarkets actually have never ever stocked like adult board games, but this was the first time I've seen it. And they had the Jaws board game, they had the Back to the Future board game, and they had the Top Gun board game. Yeah. So there's definitely an 80s resurgence in the board game market, and that would be great.
Yeah, the 80s had some fantastic stuff for sure. I think I would love to see them do a Dirty Harry board game. I don't know how they would do that, but that would be kind of interesting too. Do you have any other games close by?
Let me see. One of this is thinking about what my favorite game is. This is probably the favorite game that we have in our house at the moment. Again, another Waddington's one, Escape from Atlantis. And this is one I'm pretty sure you guys have got over in the States, but it's just called Escape.
Or Survive.
Survive, that's the one. Yeah, Survive. So this is the 1996 version of this. I do also have the 80s version of this as well, which is it's in the attic. But this is the one that we actually play more, the 90s version. Yeah, and again, I love this. I have to say, I'm probably going to get a lot of hatred for this, but I hate meeples.
You're not a meeple.
I hate them. I'm coming from a toy collector's point of view, where I love little plastic minis, where they, the great sculpting and stuff. Can't stand meeples. Can't stand them. So the fact that this has got such great, some of the pieces in this are so nice. The sculpts on them are great. And I know, I'm not a fan. The newer version, Survive and things, has got all the pieces are like cardboard. Yeah. And you've got your cardboard tiles and you've got your wooden, I imagine, meeples. I don't like the cardboard. The fact that these are, they are nice, big, kind of chunky, plastic sculpted pieces that you've got there. That's great. And I mean, these pieces, look at that. Look at the sculpting on that. That is it's really nice, isn't it? That's from 96, which is one of the ways that, the 96 version is definitely better than the 80s version. And again, that's one of the things that I really like as well, is with, coming from toys, variants. I know there's a lot of toy collectors that go for variants and just want ones which come from different countries of origin, different coup variants, ones which have different paint applications of the same thing. So one of the things that I quite interested in is how games change over time. If it's the same game that's been brought out a couple of years later or by a different company, I quite like seeing how it's changed. So that's one of the things I do in my videos, is I will sometimes if it has been re-released, like compare or just like show how the artwork on the covers has changed over time, or that kind of thing. Escape from Atlantis, that's one of the ones which I will, at some point, I'm planning on doing a review on it, actually comparing the 80s version with the 90s version, because, you know, there's a lot of differences with the sculpts and the pieces and things, but there's also quite a few significant differences with the rules. So the 90s version, I find, is actually a better game to play than the 80s version. So I will at some point be looking at what some of those rule differences are as well.
I'll tell you what, I'm totally with you when it comes to the sculpting with some of the older games. I love some of the components that they made. Mall Madness, I think the newer version, I used to have the newer version, but the older version just was better because I think they didn't use like the cardboard pieces, I think like the newer one does. And then, a lot of the games that they re-released, they kind of make them cheaper, I guess, by just using the cardboard. But I'm with you. I truly love the older sculpted pieces because the dragon you showed me was really, really nice. Let's see. I'm just looking through the comments here. Oh, here we go. This is Luke. It looks so cheap. The 2020 remake of Mall Madness. I knew that they were remaking it, but I hate to hear that they're making it so cheap, though, because that's one of those games. It's funny to me because, you know, it's made for, I guess, teen girls or whatever, but it's a fun game. It's a fun game.
It's one I've not played. I've seen a couple of the videos about Mall Madness on YouTube, on some of the channels, but it's not one that I've actually played. It's not one that I own. I think just from the pure 80s nostalgia kind of cheesiness, I really love like cheesy movies and that kind of nonsense. So from that point of view, I would be quite into it. There's one game that I'm really, really looking forward to playing. As I said, cannot play any games that are more than 2 players at the moment. But I really love gimmicks. And one of the gimmicks that I love is VCR games.
Yes.
Or VHS games. So there's like this 80s party game that I've got that's a VHS one. It is unbelievably cheesy 90s. It is just hilarious watching some of the bits on it. And that's one that I'm saving for like when I can actually play with a lot of people. Because it's like a proper game night, having a laugh because it is so ridiculous.
What was the game called? I know they made it.
That one is Party Mania.
Party Mania. Okay. Yeah, I look forward to seeing some of the. If you do any reviews with VCR games, that would be very cool. I haven't done any personally myself like that. Do you have any other games you'd like to share?
Let me see. I think a lot of these ones are ones that I've done. I grabbed out the cupboard and things, but I've done reviews on already. Action Attraction, that is a great game. A lot of the children in my class really like that one as well, with the magnetic balls.
Very cool. Yeah, another cool component using magnets. I got an idea. I'm going to share your YouTube page here, and we'll just kind of go through it. This is Mark's page, y'all. Let's see. Just to show you some of what he's got here. Let's see. Videos. These are some of the other games. There's Creepy Cauldron. Looked really cool with the pieces and the colors and stuff. I
love the colors on that one. Yeah.
Let me see how this is looking. Okay, I'm gonna do see if I can share us all here. I think it's this one. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No. There it is. Okay. All right. How about here's Monster Crunch. Would you like that one?
I love Monster Crunch. That's one I definitely did play as a kid. It's really good fun. it's a really simple game, and I really do like the simple games. As I said, the ones where you don't have lots of things to remember. You've not got an 80-page instruction manual. It's literally just one side of an A4 sheet. But yeah, that one's great fun. So hit the thing, it spins round, and you've got to search around and slap it. And you spend most of your time slapping the hand of the other person that's playing against you.
That's fun. I always kind of like those slapping games and things here. Let's see. Here's one. I'm just looking here. Let's see. You did Octobuzzy, Thundercats, Lost in New York. I think I might have passed on that. It was like a 3D game.
Well, I mean, there's I think there's 4 Home Alone games that have been brought out. I think there's 1 for Home Alone, the first one, and there's 3 for the second film. But that one, it's an action contraption game. And again, that's one of the kind of things that I really love. That kind of mousetrap style game where something ridiculous and wacky happens, which then activates something else, that then activates something else, and it just kind of goes like a domino effect, that kind of thing. And the thinking behind that to come up with that kind of design, love that.
Oh, yeah, I've always said, I don't know how these guys came up with some of these ideas. Just fantastic things. Let's take a look. Let's see. Do you see anything here that you really that really grabs your attention?
I love those games. As you can see from most of it, they are large and 3D and have action features and things.
I would love to get this Dynamite game right here. That's like a lot of fun.
That is a good one. That it really is. Like that. The mechanism on that is great as well. Putting down that plunger, those bridge pieces go sky high. It's really good. And that one, the playing pieces on that are the same ones used in Tornado Rex.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very cool. How many games do you have? I didn't even ask. I forgot to ask.
I have to say I'm probably quite a newbie when it comes to board games, so I really don't have that many. I think I had a quick count, and it's only around 120.
That's a good number.
Well, compared to some other people's collections, which are like 800 odd, then it's nothing. But compared to your average non-collector, it's a lot of games. Yeah.
Yeah, I have probably about 500 myself, but there are people that I've run into that have like 3,000 games. I'm like, where would you store 3,000 games?
What do you do with that?
Do you have like a Dewey Decimal System to use or something like that? I think that's great. I know one guy I talked to, it was from Meepleville Board Game Cafe. He has like 5,000 in a warehouse, like behind his store. Just tons of games. Let's see here. I'm just gonna look through the comments here. Let's see. Here's one. Love the engineering on some of the older games. Rumble in the Jungle, amazing. Yeah, have you seen that one?
I've seen Luke's review for that game. I think that came out in the early 2000s. That one. But I think it's Tony, might be wrong. I've seen that. I've seen Luke's review on that one. Again, great. It's mousetrap type thing with one thing knocking onto another thing, knocking into another thing. So really like that. I really like the games with the mechanisms, but also games that use science as well. So likes of the action attraction game that I showed you there, like ones that use magnetism. I like games that use scientific principles as part of them. I've got another one here, which I know that you have been looking at recently. I haven't reviewed this yet, but it is sitting out ready to get reviewed.
Oh, yes. High Wire Harry. Yeah.
So I think Bernardo was saying that this is based on a game called Balancing Clowns, Crazy Clowns, something like that, from '69, I think I saw. The old '60s version, you literally just have to get, I think from what I've seen, you literally just have to get the balancing clown to go from one side to another. This game, you've got to get him from one side to the other while balancing things that you stacked up on top of him. So it's pretty good. And the box artwork on this is great. Again, that's something else that I kind of look at in my reviews, and I'm a big fan of, is just the artwork on boxes from the vintage one. There's a completely different style of artwork, I think, in the vintage ones. Today's games for kids tend to be computer generated imagery. It all seems to be like CGI artwork. It's done quite cheaply, especially if you look at Shark Chase, for example. So I haven't reviewed that one yet, but if you look at the original Shark Chase artwork on that's been painted, it is gorgeous. And then if you look at all the re-releases, it gets dumbed down more and more and more, and gets more and more friendly looking and cuter, and like really just bad quality computer graphics on the front cover. The painted stuff, whereas the artwork on a lot of adult games today, the modern ones, are painted, and they're going for there's some really stunning artwork on some of the modern games. But a lot of this kind of illustration kind of painting, you don't get that on kids' games these days.
Yeah, a lot of the artwork. I mean, they have really good artwork on some of the games, but like games like that's very vintage looking. What was the other game I saw? You may have heard of this one. It was called Air Tricks. It was someone I came across a couple of times. That one you might like. I know if I remember correctly, it has all these things standing up, and you have like this little thing you're using, like an air, I guess, a thing that shoots out air to try to guide like something through all these obstacles and stuff like that. That one looked pretty interesting.
I would love that kind of thing, because it's using scientific concepts, scientific principles, and like taking those and using them in a game. Really love that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fantastic stuff. So do you have one more game you'd like to share with us?
I'm trying to think of other ones, which ones you won't have seen here. I'll show you this. Let me see. This one is probably the most disappointing game I have ever bought. I don't know if you've ever bought a game and then found that it's not really what you expected and you were disappointed by it.
Oh yeah, I have.
This for me is number one culprit for that. Definitely. As I said, love adventure stuff. Love, Mummies. This one is obviously, this is based on the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie that came out, and then they did a spin-off cartoon series on that. And then, so this is based on the cartoon series. And I found this one in a charity shop. So I'd never heard of it before. It's not one that I could research before. Just box art, looks great on the front. Doesn't give anything away on the back. There is nothing, you cannot tell from the back. There are no photographs on here at all of what the actual game looks like or is or does. And this is the biggest disappointment ever, because it's not really a board game.
Yeah. What is it exactly?
Well, it says it's an adventure board game. It's got board game right on the box there, but it's not. Basically, this is it's a scavenger hunt around your house.
Huh?
Exactly. It is absolutely crazy. I mean, there are like playing pieces, but there are, again, this is one of the things. Obviously, I'm a big fan of like 80s, 90s TV shows and cartoons, particularly. A lot of the board games, most of the board games that have come as spin-offs from TV series and cartoons and things are just done really cheaply and rushed out, and they've all just got rubbish cardboard components and they're really flat. This one's missing a piece, but those are the cardboard game tokens. And basically what you do is you have to set it up at the beginning. Yeah, I know, happy kids. You need the kids playing it. The photographs, vintage photographs of kids playing games are amazing. Yeah. But basically what you do is you take the clues and you hide the different clue cards in places specified around your house. So like under the bed, in a cupboard, whatever. And then as you go through the game, you have to solve the clue and run to that room in your house and, you know, find that clue and get that thing until eventually you find the last piece, which is hidden somewhere in your house. Like, that's not a board game.
No, no, that's kid stuff. Kids do scavenger hunts like that all the time. Well, man, Mark, it's been great having you on. Let me ask you one last question. What are your next videos coming up on your channel? And
next couple ones, as I say, this one, High Wire Harry, will probably be one of the next ones that I do review for. I said at some point I'm going to do a comparison review of Escape from Atlantis, the 80s version versus the 90s version. And I've got a whole stack of other games that I know for a fact are not on YouTube yet.
Yeah,
so
I love
for me, that's what it's about. As you said, that's why I started the channel, because, you know, I found these things. I wanted to know how a game worked or what a mechanism actually did, because you couldn't really tell from the photograph. So I wanted to actually see what it was that it did or how it worked, and looked it up. And some of the games are just not on there. So there's some games like the classics, some of the Waddington ones or Fireball Island and stuff, where you go on YouTube and there's like easily 10 videos from different channels about it. So what I want to do is try and uncover those hidden gems that people, you know, haven't heard of or that aren't on YouTube yet. So if they want to find out about it, then, you know, they're going to be able to see in a video what it actually does, because they've never seen it before or not been able to see previously what it does or how it works.
Well, Mark, I'm glad you hit this niche. It's very cool to see a lot, because I only thought, like, you know, Mousetrap was like one of those games that would just, you know, that's your typical game, but there's so many more out there that have that mechanism, and that's very cool. Anyway, I love your channel. I love what you've done with it, and just keep up the good work. Everybody who's on, thank you so much for joining us. Luke, it's good to see you, and appreciate everybody that's made channels like what we have, you know, just showing us games that, you know, the world doesn't know about. There's a lot of great ones out there. So feel free to check out Mark at Attic Raiders Retro Reviews on YouTube. He's got a great page. And Mark, I look forward to talking to you again, man. And thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Y'all take care. We'll see you soon.